Welcome to the webinar training series for the MEville to WEville curriculum. In this webinar, participants will be provided with a curriculum overview, lesson walkthrough, and tips on small group instruction. If you have any questions regarding MEville to WEville, you can contact the curriculum team by email at curriculum@ablenetinc.com. Please feel free to contact us for additional support or follow-up questions. Remember that implementing a new curriculum will take time, and one of the most important steps to being successful is to know what materials you have and how to organize them. Let's get started. MEville to WEville is an emergent literacy and communication program that primarily teaches concepts of print by way of experiential learning in the lessons and what students know to use and create print materials. Linking their own experiences with the written word helps students understand the purpose of reading. MEville to WEville is designed for students K through 12 with moderate to severe disabilities who struggle with literacy skills. As we know, there are some students in all grade levels who are at the very beginning of literacy. There are students who do not know about words and letters or understand what reading is all about. This may be their first experience with reading or have had little to no instruction with literacy. MEville to WEville has been written in an age-neutral fashion to appeal to learners of all ages who are just at the very beginning of literacy instruction, whether in kindergarten or high school. Reading, writing, speaking, and listening are the four components of literacy. Students learn these skills concurrently at different individual rates. It is for that reason that MEville to WEville lessons are written to include all four components. All students can learn to be literate, but literacy may look different for each individual student. Students learn concepts of print by experiencing vocabulary word meanings and activities, writing and reading during those experiences and about those experiences, working with letter sounds and rhyming words, and by way of literacy strategies that are learned over time, building skills slowly so students can understand what it means to make text connections, make predictions, read with a purpose, and identify main idea and details, to name a few. All of these activities in the lessons are highly supported for success and motivation to learn about reading and learn to enjoy it, reinforcing the idea that this is what I do and think about when I read. In this way, students gain an understanding of what reading is about and why it is important. By raising expectations and focusing on repetition and variety within the lessons, teachers allow students to acquire new knowledge and skills over time. When students are on the path to literacy, learning what they need to know to gain concepts of print skills, they are mirroring what their general education peers have done from a very young age into their school years. In this way, students are on their way to being literate, whatever their potential may be. Let's take a brief look at the contents of your MEville to WEville kit. The MEville to WEville curricular kit box contains teacher's guides with 3 units of lessons, vocabulary cards, 7 assistive technology devices, 6 literature books written specifically for MEville to WEville, and the members-only content. Focusing on the instructional resources for a moment, the MEville to WEville Teacher's Guide includes all of the objectives and lessons for MEville to WEville organized into 3 units. These lessons have been consolidated into one book and tabbed for efficiency. Double-sided vocabulary cards are included. One side of the card shows a picture symbol supported vocabulary word, and on the other side, the printed word in isolation. Pick symbols support reading meaning in the context of an illustration that gives the reader clues in understanding it. There are also 6 literature books, 3 books with drawings that appeal more to primary learners, and 3 books with photos geared towards older secondary age learners. Students use the book to interact with the text for the purpose of gaining concepts of print skills. These have been written to encourage discussion, interaction with the pictures and story, and to support specific portions of the lessons. For example, in Unit 1, Me, students identify basic feelings in the elementary book, Tippity Tippity Tap. In the secondary book, Smoothing Out the Bumps, students identify basic feelings but also learn ways to cope with them. In another example, in Unit 3, My School, students are taught how to research an animal. This theme has been written into the literature books. The elementary book, Quacker's O'Malley, is about a classroom pet who inspires a class research project. In the secondary book, Harry Not Scary, student characters Stephanie and Brett work on researching a tarantula for a school project, showing a model of what the students will do themselves, research an animal, in the lessons. While the literature books support the students learning about books and how to interact with them, what the students learn to read is the text they write about themselves, their families, their school, and their experiences with MEville to WEville lessons. Talking bricks are 3 speech output devices that can be used as 3 single devices or linked together into a 2-device or 3-device sequence included to support students as they make choices, comments, sound out words, or match rhyming words or initial letter sounds. The QuickTalker 7 is a communication device that comes with one pre-printed overlay designed to support students as they listen to a story being read aloud. In addition to the included overlay, there are additional overlays available in the members-only content specific to each lesson page throughout MEville to WEville. And now that the 6 literature books are available in a digital format, the Hitch, a computer switch interface with 2 switches, has been included for students to turn pages forward and back so they can participate in reading the book and search for specific words, pictures, or letters as directed by the teacher. For example, a picture of a boy who looks happy. MEville to WEville was originally developed by Dr. Karen Erickson from the Center for Literacy and Disability Studies in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. She collaborated with AbleNet to create the original version. Her research was based on the foundation of literacy. Reading, writing, speaking, and listening develop concurrently. Students may learn these at different rates and different times, however they are all interconnected. That original idea continues to be the underlying foundation of MEville to WEville lesson content. Dr. Karen Erickson included students' own experiences with me, my family, and my school, along with experiential learning to connect literacy to the here and now and what students know about the world. The ultimate goal is for students to understand what it means to read and to read specific words with understanding. It is also important to remember that students using this curriculum often require a high level of differentiation to meet their individual learning needs. The lessons are written with these students in mind. The pace and the content in the lessons support students with cognitive disabilities. Pick symbols are included to support understanding and provide writing support, but the teacher may choose photos or larger images. An image file is included in the members-only content. In addition, as mentioned earlier, the QuickTalker 7 overlays have been included for every lesson page. To make your own overlays, use the free symbol overlay maker in Resources at ablenetinc.com using your own images. I will show you the location of this resource later on. For support with motor and language, look to the Action Dictionary, a differentiation guide that helps you support the individual needs of your students. Keep in mind that some students may need objects for full understanding. There is a follow-up webinar, MEville to WEville Literacy Strategies, that gives you additional information in using concrete objects as supports in literacy. Literacy learning areas make up the structure of every lesson. You will find 5 pages in each lesson written in the same format, lesson to lesson. Learning new words, vocabulary, word wall words, literacy lesson, and writing. MEville to WEville has an emergent literacy focus on concepts of print. Students learn concepts of print in a variety of ways through daily reading and lesson activities that build toward an understanding of interaction with words and books. Students learn these concepts in the lessons using the literature books and other written materials to connect vocabulary to what they are doing as well as what they already know. Students interact with books through literacy strategies, learning about characters, action and setting, making text connections, setting a purpose, reading with a purpose, picture clues, research, reading to learn, identifying main idea and details, and nonfiction text features. The literacy strategies are typically taught in general education to students who can read. They've been added to MEville to WEville lessons to provide a deeper understanding about what reading is, although the students may not be reading the text well or at all. For this reason, these concepts are taught with a high level of support and guidance. Within the lessons, students also have the opportunity to create their own books as a group and individually. These are based on their preferences, knowledge, and experiences, which helps to create a text-to-self connection. These books are then expected to be available within your classroom library for students to read. Concepts of Print teaches students what it means to read a book, that words, letters, and sounds are connected to the language we speak, as well as basic story elements, how to think about a book and what they have read, and how to start learning how to be literate. Connection to the written word is important and comes through student experiences and interactions with text. Unfortunately, students with disabilities do not always have the same experiences as their general education peers for a variety of reasons. MEville to WEville focuses on filling in those missing gaps and creating experiences to aid students in becoming literate, however that looks for each individual student. While using MEville to WEville, it is important to remember that this is a curriculum written for students with moderate to severe disabilities. If you find yourself feeling like you need to modify or adapt this curriculum, it is important to take a moment and think about what you are teaching, and look back at the lesson objective. Keeping the lesson objective in mind will help you and your students to maintain lesson fidelity. If you have students that cannot participate within the curriculum in a typical way, you should look to the Action Dictionary, found in the members-only content, for alternative solutions that support student actions. The themes you see here, me, my family, and my school, are based on developmental stages. The first focus is on me, then the next extension of myself, the most important people in my life, my family, then my school, the first place spending the most time I'm away from my family. There are 45 lessons within MEville to WEville. Each lesson has 5 pages: learning new words, vocabulary, word wall words, literacy lesson, and writing. So there are 225 pages in all. The curriculum is designed for all students to begin with Unit 1, Part 1, Lesson 1, then progress through the lessons in the order they are placed in the teacher's guide. It is important that you do not skip around, as lessons build upon concepts taught in previous lessons. Expect to spend about 1 to 2 days on each of the 5 pages of the lesson. In the MEville to WEville Teacher's Guide, the concepts of print skills are shown, as is in the frame here. It is understood that these skills are taught and reinforced across all lessons and in daily reading. Be sure to choose a book daily to read to your students, as that is what you will be using to reinforce concepts of print through direct instruction. Specific lesson objectives for every page of each lesson are placed below concepts of print skills in order from Unit 1 to Unit 3. Let's take a brief look at the assistive technology included in your MEville to WEville kit. Also included with MEville to WEville are 7 pieces of assistive technology: talking bricks, the Quick Talker 7, the hitch, and 2 jelly bean switches. Talking bricks are 3 single recordable message output devices that can be used for single messages, but also for stringing together messages, or to place words in short sentences or phrases, or to use the letters to sound out words, or combine an onset and rhyme to read a word. Look for the talking bricks in the Action Dictionary as an adaptation for reading, sounding out, and rhyming words. Also included is the Quick Talker 7 communication device with 1 general overlay for commenting during a lesson or a story read aloud. The Quick Talker 7 is a communication device that meets the needs of a variety of users, regardless of age or ability. In the members-only content, you will have access to pre-made overlays to print and use. There is 1 overlay for every page of every lesson of the curriculum. The overlay is designed specific to that lesson page. In this way, students can speak directly to the activity they are engaged in and communicate what they are learning. What is recorded with each pick symbol is based on what is in the lesson at your discretion and/or your students' input depending on the activity. If you do not want to use a particular image on the overlay, cover it with a post-it note, or create a new overlay with the symbol overlay maker mentioned earlier. Remember to always record in front of the student, demonstrate each message, show the pic symbol, and allow the student time to practice. The Hitch and Jelly Bean switches are useful for the digital versions of the 6 literature books for students to turn pages forward and back as the teacher reads, or to search for a particular object, color, person, feeling, word, or letter. For instructions on how to use each AT device, look for the device by clicking on Technology on our website at www.ablenetinc.com. Then check out the short videos posted by each one. Let's take a look at the differentiation guide with literacy-specific adaptations included in MEville to WEville, the Action Dictionary. The Action Dictionary is a differentiation guide. This version of the Action Dictionary was written specifically for MEville to WEville to support student actions within the lessons. Within lessons, teachers will see bolded words representing actions that are required of the student to complete the lesson, such as choose, read, say, sound out, or write. When a student is unable to perform an action in a typical way, teachers can find a springboard of adaptation ideas to try in the Action Dictionary, so all students are active literacy learners. So what if the lesson says the student will say something or read a word and my student can do neither? That's what the Action Dictionary is used for. The Action Dictionary supports differentiation and high-quality literacy instruction. It inspires teachers to look at actions required to complete the lessons and see how all learners can be actively learning. While you are teaching a lesson, you'll find words that are in a bold print. These words are found in the Action Dictionary. Some of the bold words in the lessons do not have their own page, but rather are cross-referenced to similar words. For example, the word tell is cross-referenced to the word say because the adaptation for tell and say are the same. It's important to note you may not need the Action Dictionary for all of your students, but it is still important to take the time to explore this resource, so if you recognize a student isn't participating in a lesson or demonstrating a skill you may have thought they could perform, you have this opportunity to see it in a different way. Also, the Action Dictionary is a starting point. If you do not have the devices or resources in your class, you do not need to purchase them. These are suggestions for you to start with, and we encourage you to use what you have and make decisions based on the individual strengths and needs of your students. Here are 2 example pages from the Action Dictionary for the word say and the word rhyme. You'll notice that below each word are suggested adaptations for that action. Keep in mind this is a starting point. You may need to adapt these to meet the specific needs of each learner. To support teachers and students throughout the lessons, you will find a variety of materials in the members-only content. The members-only content is where you will find lesson reproducibles, assessments for reading skills such as letter identification, concepts of print and vocabulary words, concepts of print activities for daily reading, letter and rhyming lessons. The letter and rhyming lessons are linked directly to the vocabulary words the students are learning, and the teachers can decide which and how many letters and/or rhymes are best to teach their students. Letter and rhyming lessons are optional, but highly recommended. Other members-only content include the Action Dictionary, the Quick Talker 7 overlays for every lesson, and digital versions of the 6 literature books. The first step in the implementation process is to locate your members-only digital content USB drive. If you have not done so, please refer to the Quick Start guide that is located within your shipped content kit box, as the USB drive will be attached. If you do not have a members-only USB drive, you can contact customer service for access. Give yourself some time after viewing this webinar to become familiar with these important resources on the members-only USB drive, as they will be helpful during the implementation process. Once you have found these resources, continue exploring this part of the curriculum. The first folder we will look at in the members-only content is the Reproducibles folder. This is where you will find lesson materials and parent letters for the lessons by unit. Reproducibles, along with the Action Dictionary, specifically support active participation and interaction for all students. Look for the correct reproducibles in the lesson, noted by the R number. The numbers correspond to the numbers on the PDF, so you can click Print, then enter the R number in the Pages section of your print box. Here are some examples of the reproducibles found in the members-only content for use in the lessons. Note the R number in the lower right-hand corner. There are a variety of materials, many of which are picture symbol supported. These highly supported materials assist students when talking and writing. Students will use the vocabulary words to support reading, and they will use the literature books included in the curriculum to practice interacting with text. As students develop reading skills and awareness, students use what they are writing as the actual focus of their reading. Students will write individual stories using a closed sentence format with highly supported materials. Students fill in the blank to finish the sentence, writing about what they know about themselves, their families, or their school. The stories provide a direct connection to what they are learning within the lessons. The stories they write are what they read. Although pic symbols are used frequently in the student reproducibles, it is important to remember that showing the word alone without picture symbol support is important. The pic symbols support meaning, but seeing the word alone helps students focus on the letters and how they are placed in a word as a whole that represents meaning. That is why the vocabulary word cards are shown in isolation on the back of the cards, and why some words are present in the reproducibles without picture symbol support. The Assessments folder is where you will find the pre- and post-assessments for skills you choose to measure. It is recommended that you assess concepts of print, then add others as are appropriate. There are a variety of assessments available, such as concepts of print skills, measuring engagement in the lessons, reading and identifying meaning of vocabulary words, identifying word wall words, identifying letters, letter sounds, and rhyming words. These are informal assessments and can be used as ongoing progress monitoring tools for your students. In the Additional Lessons folder, you will find concepts of print, letter, and rhyming word lessons. It is important to establish a daily reading time. Choose any book you wish to read and read it to your group. You may want to link to their interests, read their favorites, or connect to another subject area, holiday, or special event. The goal is to engage the students and teach them concepts of print skills directly. This is not the only time they will learn concepts of print, as that is the focus of the lessons, but it is important to put this into a direct action to focus on the joy of reading, the importance of knowing what a book is, and how to enjoy it and think about what we read. Concepts of print lessons are linked to the concepts of print assessment. Use the assessment for each individual student, identify skills to work on for each student, then choose one or more activities that are common to all or most of the students in your group. You may have to teach more than one activity to make sure all the students' needs are met. Work on these skills during daily reading. The concepts of print activities are numbered and linked with each skill, so you can highlight the ones you wish to teach, then use the suggested activity and/or add your own. Find the introduction to the letter lessons, letter lesson materials, small letter cards, printable large letters for tracing in the lessons folder in the members-only content. You will find a similar set of materials for rhyming lessons. The lessons found in this folder are not found in the MEville to WEville Teacher's Guide, but are set in a similar format using the initial letter of vocabulary and word wall words you are teaching in the lessons. Find the letters and words taught, along with the location in the lessons, in the letter lesson introduction, along with activity box activities that are called out in the letter lessons. There is a similar set for rhyming word lessons. You choose when to begin letter lessons with your students, but it is recommended to only teach an initial letter after a vocabulary word with that letter has been taught, so the letter is taught in the context of the word. The same applies to rhyming words. These lessons are taught at your discretion as they are optional, but note there is great value in connecting letter names and sounds, and/or rhyming words, to vocabulary words that have been learned to connect a new skill, phonics with letter sounds, and phonemic awareness with rhyming words, to a known skill, specific word identification and meaning. The amount of letters or rhyming words taught and how these lessons are paced is up to you, as the frequency depends on your students' pacing needs. The resource folder is where you will find the action dictionary, a fidelity checklist, example pick symbol schedule, QuickTalker 7 overlays, as well as literacy strategies. Although literacy strategies are embedded into MEville to WEville lessons, we have included additional literacy strategy activities and student supports you may choose to use at your discretion. Let's take a closer look at the format and progression of learning in a lesson example. Please note that a progression of learning exists within each lesson, as well as from lesson to lesson across the curriculum. Skills that students learn in Unit 3 have been started in Units 1 and 2. For example, students learn about main idea in detail in Unit 3. However, in Units 1 and 2, students learn about important prerequisite skills such as identifying preferences, identifying and sorting members of a category, identifying main ideas, identifying details about self, others, a home, and what people do within these environments. For this reason, remember to start with Lesson 1, teach all lesson components, and teach every page of every lesson in order. Let's take a look at what a lesson in MEville to WEville looks like. For this training, we will be reviewing the first lesson in MEville to WEville. When beginning the curriculum, this will be your starting point. Lessons during Part 1, Unit 1, are based on the theme, Who Am I? During these lessons, students begin to develop an awareness of who they are, what they look like, how they feel, what they do, and what they prefer. Looking at the 5 pages of the lesson now, on the first page of the lesson is the Learning New Words lesson. The objective for Unit 1, Part 1, Lesson 1 is Learn the word me. Page 2 is vocabulary. During this lesson, students choose and talk about preferences, reinforcing and making meaning to the vocabulary word me. Page 3 is the word wall words lesson. In word wall words, students learn to identify high-frequency words. Page 4 is the literacy lesson. During this lesson, students work on describing preferences and answering questions about themselves. And finally, on page 5, the writing lesson, students learn to write about a food preference in a closed sentence format. The objectives, of course, change from lesson to lesson, but the philosophy of each page will stay the same. Each lesson always has 5 pages in one lesson. A page for learning new words, vocabulary, word wall words, literacy lesson, and writing. When teaching the curriculum, be sure to teach the pages in order, as the activities on one page support and connect to the following page's activities. Going through an entire lesson now, let's begin with the first page, Learning New Words. Looking at the top of the page, you will see that this is the Learning New Words page of Lesson 1. In Learning New Words, students are introduced to the new word and its meaning. The objective for this lesson is students learn the word me. It is important to keep the objective in mind when teaching the lesson to make sure you are staying true to the lesson fidelity. Each activity has a learner objective along the top to give you an idea of how the activity reinforces the lesson objective. It is also important to take note of the bolded words on the page. Saying, write, fasten, take turns, say, and tell. Bold words found in the curriculum are words that are found in the action dictionary. Remember, if you have a student that cannot perform an action in a typical way, look to the action dictionary for adaptation ideas for this student. Looking at the materials list along the top of the page, the reproducibles you need for this page are listed by the letter R and a number. These are found in the members-only content. In this lesson, you will need reproducibles 1, 2, and 3. Take note that lessons requiring reproducibles will not always be in order, so be sure to pay special attention to the materials list when prepping for each lesson. You will find reproducibles organized by unit in the members-only content. Note that in this particular lesson, it tells you that you need to send home a letter 2 days prior to the lesson. This is not common, but it does occasionally come up, so you need to be aware of that as you review the lesson prior to teaching. In addition to printable materials from the members-only content, there are materials such as the vocabulary cards you will need from the curricular kit. The materials list also includes items typically found in the classroom that you will need, as well as optional items for that lesson. This is the parent letter for the lessons that needs to be sent home 2 days in advance for this particular lesson. The vocabulary cards, again, can be found in the curricular kit. However, if you need extra cards for your students, these can be found in the members-only content. The lesson will indicate to print them out. If you do not need an additional copy of the vocabulary cards, do not print them. Looking at the lesson itself, start with the Introduce section. Here, students are introduced to the word me. In this section of the lesson, students practice saying the word me using the vocabulary cards. Remember, if you do not want copies of the vocabulary cards, you do not need to print them from the members-only content. During work together, the students play a game to read and understand the word me. Students write their name on an index card and fasten their photo to match. That card is then placed in a box. Students take turns drawing a card out of the box and either say, "That's me," or ask, "Who is it?" The student whose card was drawn says, "That's me," and draws or stamps a star. Repeat as often as you choose. The student with the most stars on their card wins. In practice, students recognize their name and identify it by saying me. Reuse the name cards for this practice. Students once again have the opportunity to practice using the word me. In the last section on this page, Show What You Know, students take turns sharing with the class something special about themselves. This information is found on reproducible number 1, which is the parent letter that was sent home 2 days earlier. Here's an example of a filled parent letter. We can see that this student's name is Sam. He likes to watch football with his dad, and he brought a football. Students who have non-verbal abilities can use the Quick Talker 7 to read the vocabulary word and join in discussion by talking about what they like, or in this case, present or share with the class using the overlay designed specifically for this lesson page. Remember, every lesson page has a pre-made overlay for the Quick Talker 7 in the members-only content. You will notice that the overlays are labeled along the right side with the correct lesson and page. Note, be sure to print the overlays in landscape mode. If you print them in a portrait orientation, they will not align correctly with the Quick Talker 7. You can program the Quick Talker 7 with this particular overlay with all of Sam's information so he is able to share it with his class. Go ahead and record it in front of Sam so he can have some input and so he knows what is there. Be sure to give him time to practice. Repeat this with all the students. You can use the levels on the Quick Talker to save the information for the presentation or re-record after each student. Here's an example of how this might look. The me section is for practicing the vocabulary word me earlier in the lesson. In the I like location, you could record, "My name is Sam. I like football." In the special person location, you could record, "I like to watch football with my dad. He is special to me." The location for "this was a special day" might not be used, and that is okay. If needed, cover it with a sticky note and record empty noise in the location in case it is activated accidentally. The purpose of this is to be a flexible piece. The next page in the lesson is vocabulary. Again, look at the materials section for lesson materials. Notice this page has a preparation section. On this page, the vocabulary word meaning is looked at more deeply, and students take part in an experience to support learning the word and its meaning. The reproducibles that are printed for this page will provide students choices to communicate. Use pic symbols, magazines, as well as images from the internet. In this lesson, students choose their favorite food, clothing, places, sports, animals, and so on. If the students are hesitant or cannot choose a favorite, use what you know about the student and give 3 choices of pic symbols or photos, or even the actual objects, to help jog their memories, or make a concrete choice and support their active participation in a discussion. For students who have limited message locations on a communication device, providing 3 choices gives the student the opportunity to eye gaze, point to, or touch a pick symbol, or to make a sound when the teacher points to their pick symbol choice to communicate. Another option is to fasten the pick symbols on the QuickTalker 7 blank overlay found in your QuickTalker 7 box. You can also make your own overlays with your own photos or other images using the Symbol Overlay Maker. To access the Symbol Overlay Maker, click on Resources on the AbleNet website and select Symbol Overlay Maker. Choose QuickTalker 7 and 8.5 by 11 inch paper. Follow the directions there to use your own photos or other images and label them. Remember to print in landscape. In addition to the pick symbols, you may wish to use the QuickTalker overlay for this lesson for students to choose their favorite things that are displayed on the table or shown in choices of 3 by touch, eye gaze, pointing, or by indicating a choice while you point for that student. The locations on the QuickTalker 7 are, "This is my favorite," "I do not like that," "I want to write my name," and "I want to pick a color." These choices and pick symbols are used to create a Me box for younger students or a Me binder for older students. Looking now at using these materials in action, in Learn About, teacher models telling about favorites using pick symbols or other images and concrete resources. During work together, color words are written to match the color of construction paper sheets to match students' favorite colors chosen. Notice at the end of work together there is an option for older students to create a Me binder instead of a Me box. The color they choose in work together will be used to create their Me box or Me binder in the practice section. Once the box or binder is created, we are simply waiting for the students to bring things in to complete their Me box. During practice, students fasten their favorite colors of paper around the box or binder and finish decorating their box with their favorites and the word Me. Their favorites can be stickers and the pick symbols shown as choices, as well as additional photos from the internet. After students have finished creating their Me box or Me binder, you will send home reproducible number 14 from the materials list to be filled out at home. Students then bring in their favorite objects or pictures of their favorite objects to be placed in their Me box at school. If you have students you know will not return this form, watch for things they are interested in within your own classroom so students can use those materials. This form will be used on a later page, so after you've completed the vocabulary lesson activities, move on to the next page. Word wall lessons focus on identification of high-frequency words. In some word wall word lessons, students use letters to spell each word wall word. The reason for this activity is to call attention to the parts of a word made from individual letters and to emphasize the importance of letters placed in a specific order when writing a word. They will need to learn that mixed up letters do not mean the same thing as letters placed in a specific order. Students will learn this concept over time. Focus again at the materials list for this page. There is preparation needed prior to teaching this lesson. Be sure to complete this preparation prior to teaching the lessons so you can smoothly implement the lesson with the prepped materials. In the word wall section of Lesson 1, students identify high-frequency words and, who, and me. As these words are usually abstract in nature and difficult to define, it can be a challenge for students to understand their purpose. The best way to promote their understanding is to give students experience with them in language and the written word, as they need to know these words are a part of reading and spoken language. Looking at the QuickTalker 7 overlay for this lesson, notice the locations are We Spelled the Word and Who and Me. You can replace the pick symbols on the QuickTalker 7 overlay with simply the words as you wish. The purpose of this overlay is to make a comment about spelling the words and to read each word wall word. Here is what you will be preparing for this portion of the lesson. As indicated within the materials list, you will need 2 per student, plus 1 for your word wall for this lesson. The directions in the preparation instruct you to draw cut lines on each word, isolating each letter, or to cut one set of the words for each student apart into individual letters as students observe. Also described in the preparation section is to make a spelling board for each student by drawing a thick black horizontal line near the bottom of a large sheet of construction paper in landscape view. Draw a green vertical at the start of the line on the left as a starting point for spelling with the letter cards. You may want to laminate the spelling board for durability. During Learn About It, students are to read and say the words as well as combine the words to make a sentence. The words are then placed on your classroom word wall. During Work Together and practice, students clap or chant the words. In Show What You Know, students use their spelling board and the set of word wall words, remember one set has been cut and the other set is the whole word, to spell each word. Students can spell each word to begin to learn that words are made up of letters. This is an excellent time to remind everyone to remember to look to the Action Dictionary to support students in clapping, saying, and spelling the words. One of the resources you may find helpful for this activity is to attach letters to blocks. The literacy lesson focuses on interaction with print and building knowledge about literacy strategies that good readers use. As mentioned earlier, these strategies are taught slowly, building the skills over time. An example of a literacy strategy would be identifying main idea in detail, or reading for a purpose. This is the 4th page in Lesson 1. Here, students describe preferences and answer questions about them. Students prepare their Me boxes or binders, present them, and discuss them with their classmates. Don't forget to give students time to practice before presenting, and utilize the Action Dictionary and the adaptations you have already identified to give your students the support they need to be successful. On this page of the lesson, it is expected that students have brought in their favorite items and completed and returned the paper sent home during the vocabulary lesson. In preparing for this lesson, I will have conferred with Callie to find out what she would like to talk about or show as her favorites. Similar to what was done in the earlier lesson, students will use the Quick Talker 7 to present their Me boxes or binders and share information with the class. Involve the students in making choices about what they will talk about. The students do not need to share every object they brought. Notice I placed a sticky note on this location as Callie will not be needing it. Callie was part of the process in choosing what to say and where to record it on the Quick Talker 7. My name is Callie. This is my Me box. I like candy. The one thing that's special about me is that I can call my friend with my cell phone. Callie decided she didn't want to talk about her dinosaur. Be sure to give students enough time to practice using the Quick Talker 7 or mode of communication when presenting their Me boxes or binders. In addition to conferring with students about what they are including in their Me box or binder presentation, you can also set up the expectations for how the presentation will run. The listed directions are meant to be written on the board for students to see. You may want to model each step so students can benefit from that visual. After students have presented their Me boxes or binders to the class, they can practice saying the word Me again and answer questions about their Me boxes. Look to the Action Dictionary for ways students can hold and show items in their box or binder to their classmates. These are some students with their Me boxes. Again, if the Me box seems too young for your students, you have the option to create a Me binder or book instead, as you can see here. Writing is the culmination of the lesson in which students write a book individually or as a group. Essentially, students create books for the classroom library in a highly supported way. Throughout the lessons, remember there are a variety of ways to write. Some students use a pencil to scribble or write letters randomly, or write letters that start the words. Some students use pick symbols or glue on letters they choose, or even stamp letters. This should be honored, as these are all ways children develop writing skills. To clarify pre-writing attempts, letters, or letter writing, write the text below or near the student's writing so they can see the conventional way to write as well as when they read the book. Quick Talker overlays are available for the lesson. The books created in the writing section should be placed in your classroom library for students to select and read throughout the school year, in addition to your regular classroom library books. Look in the Action Dictionary for students to read these books. You may also read these books during daily reading when focusing on concepts of print activities. In the materials list, you will see reproducible number 18. which is the set of directions for the Who class book activity. In this portion of Lesson 1, students are making a book about everyone's favorite foods. Notice there are not any pick symbols to support these directions. This is done purposely, as students need to see the words that are not supported with pictures. These are the pages for the group book Who. You will need just one of page 19, then our number 20 and 21 for each student. These are pick symbol supports for students to make choices. You can supplement with pictures from other sources, such as magazines or the internet. These supports are also for students to fasten to the page to write, if that is a chosen adaptation for writing. Honor all attempts of writing. You can always support their writing with a written word. In Learn About, discuss the Who book activity. In Work Together, students write and illustrate the pages for the group Who book. Again, this section offers an option for older students. In Practice, students assemble the class book, and finally, in Show What You Know, students are given the chance to read the class book and identify things they and their classmates like. This activity allows students to see themselves as writers. Each student creates 2 pages based on their preferences. For example, the pages titled Who Likes Pizza and Callie Likes Pizza were created by Callie. All pages created by the students in the class are fastened together to create the class book. MEville to WEville works best in a small group setting. For students who have little or no experience in small groups or struggle with attention to task or staying put, you may want to consider this method. It begins with a lesson schedule in pick symbol format and a plan to begin with a short amount of time spent on working and a longer playtime that will gradually flip from 5 minutes of work and 25 minutes of play to 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of play. This is accomplished by actively involving the students in creating and using the schedule throughout the lesson and using it as a guide every step of the way. Find this selection of schedule symbols, specifically for MEville to WEville, in the Members Only content in the Resources folder. Choose the number of activities you feel your students can handle. For some groups, you may just choose one activity, then break time. The idea is to add more and more activities gradually until you feel you've reached the optimal amount for your group. Here's an example. I chose reading a story, then vocabulary review, painting demonstration, students paint, then break. Each time we complete an activity, I remove the pick symbol or ask a student to do it and place it in a bag to show it is finished. This would be easier if they were laminated with Velcro fastened to the back. If you place a strip of Velcro on a 3-ring binder, students can see this easily, like a slant board, and you can keep the used or extra schedule pick symbols inside a plastic bag. Remember to read your schedule again each time you complete an activity like this. Next, we're going to do vocabulary review. Then I will give a painting demonstration. Then you will have a turn to paint. Then we'll take a break. Now we can remove vocabulary review. Now I will give a painting demonstration. Then you will have a turn to paint. Then we'll take a break. Now we can remove painting demonstration. Now it's time for you to paint. Then we'll take a break. Now that we've finished painting, we can remove that from our schedule, and it's now time for a break. There is a collection of small group instruction strategies that have been provided for you in a handout. These are tried and true strategies that help you manage a group of students. Some things to consider when getting ready to teach in small groups are to create a shared focal point, provide a central location to display materials used during the lessons. Add to this focal point daily using words, pictures, or objects that are meaningful to your students. Make sure all students get a chance to see what you're doing, what their peers are doing, and any materials used within the lesson. Allow students the time to explore materials when appropriate. Allow students to assist with managing materials for the lesson. This can be as simple as having students assist with cleanup at the end of the lesson, or using the hitch and jelly bean switches to turn the page of a digital book. Model everything for your students. Model how to physically complete tasks, but don't forget to provide visible thinking as well. By modeling your thought process for students, They can develop their own inner dialogue when thinking critically about new information, such as a story that they are reading or a problem they must solve. Create opportunities for a group response. Allowing all students to feel safe to make a guess, try something new, or even make a mistake will allow students to feel comfortable being part of the learning process. Finally, create interest in what you are doing. If you are not excited about the topic you are teaching, your students will not be either. By creating interest, you will draw students in and set your lesson up for success. As we conclude this webinar, I would like to thank you for your time today. If you have any questions or would like to request a live training for the MEville to WEville curriculum, please contact a curriculum team representative at curriculum@ablenetinc.com. We look forward to hearing from you.